Episode 10, Homecoming. Penny, after touching the button, finds himself crawling out of a fountain. He's in the Netherlands, the place between places. It's filled with countless fountains that lead to different worlds. And after being chased by some minions from the beast, he finds himself inside the library. A librarian introduces herself as the keeper of the Netherlands library branch. The library is a repository of knowledge that contained books on the lives of everybody. Here, Penny is finally able to contact Quentin, and he finds out that time works completely different in the Netherlands. Although he's only been gone for a few hours, back on Earth, it's been 2 weeks. In order for Penny to come back to Earth, he needs to enter through the Earth Fountain. The only issue is that the Netherlands is a very large place with a lot of fountains, and it's very confusing, much like a maze. In order to find the Earth Fountain, he would need a map, which he isn't able to get anytime soon. Alice's mom happens to know a traveler, so her and Quentin go back to her parents' place to try to find out some information on maybe how they can help Penny get back home. Upon arriving at her parents' place, it becomes very apparent why Alice claims that her family was no advantage. At the moment, her parents are throwing a sex party and are very lackadaisical about her witnessing it and seeing them in the act. Her dad even claims that, oh, this is a very modest one. You should come back in the future, but we have our more wild parties. It becomes very apparent that they have been all too sex positive with Alice. Another odd thing is that her mom tells her not to call her mom and rather to address her by her name, Stephanie. There's just a very awkward relationship between Alice and her parents where it almost feels like she never had a chance to be a kid. She tries to talk to her mom privately because the traveler that she happens to know also happens to be the person that her mother had an affair with, which led to her father threatening to commit in order to get her attention back. This all happened when Alice was 9. And due to this, now her parents only partake together in order to avoid any further miscommunications. When she goes to ask her mom about the traveler, she says, hey, it doesn't need to be a secret anymore. Joe's become our third. And lucky for Alice and Quentin, he has a spell that will act as a beacon to help Penny find his way back to the Earth Fountain. The only problem is that Joe, the traveler, comes from a world where all magic is sex magic. The spell will only work if both parties climax at the same time. Hearing this, Alice sort of gives like a shifty, This sort of leads into Joe, Alice's parents' third, teaching Quentin about the female body. Back at Breakbills, Margot is back from her Ibiza trip, and she notices Elliot turning to basically all of the pharmaceuticals and calls for a nurse to come check him out. The nurse points out that it isn't Elliot that has an issue, it's actually Margot. Elliot is as good as can be, all things considered, but the nurse says it seems like Margot is the one having an issue. It seems like there's something draining her life force. What happened at Ibiza? Margot goes to confront the guy that she was hooking up with during Ibiza and finds out he made a golem of her, a Margolem, if you will. He endangered her life for a realistic-looking sex doll. After rightfully trashing him, she takes Margolem with her and leaves. Julia has been getting along with Richard and her new path forward and how she's going to exist with magic. She's been part of an online magical group that Richard introduced her to, and they end up asking to borrow her guest room in order to do the spell that they got from Kira. When everybody arrives at Julia's apartment, there's a little guest surprise in the fact that Katie is also a part of this group. Katie says that Richards found her before she was able to enact her Marina revenge and convinced her to stop. Since Julia and Katie are the new members to the group, they aren't included on the new spell from Kira, and everybody else in the group goes to the guest room to complete it, leaving Katie and Julia out in the kitchen. As they're waiting, their pizza comes and gets delivered. After they grab it and bring it into the kitchen, it seems like the spell gets completed as the group cheers inside, and then, knock knock knock, on the door, the pizza arrives. Again. It seems like whatever spell that Kira worked on had something to do with time magic. Alice and Quentin with the spell in hand try to perform it, But Quentin can't get over the fact that Alice pretends sometimes with him. This leads to them having an argument and then deciding to pause trying to do the spell, as they've sort of lost all the steam to be able to do it. In the meantime, Elliot is sitting with Margot and ends up opening up to her, saying he thinks that there might be something wrong with them post-Mike. She turns and she kisses him, leaving Elliot and everybody else confused. But then real Margot walks into the room, and we realize that the Margot that kissed him was Mark Olam. After realizing what happened, Elliot sort of plays it cool and pretends like nothing happened and doesn't open up to real Margot. After taking a moment to cool down, Quentin comes back to Alice and sort of asks her, "Why are you with me? I'm not really that good of a magician. I don't really have much to offer." And Alice says she doesn't know why she likes him. She just does. You don't like people for what they're good at. It's something we torture ourselves with. Having this moment of reconnection, they are then able to complete the spell, which creates a beacon lighting up the Earth Fountain in the Netherlands. Penny is then able to follow it and enter through the Earth Fountain, and he comes back to Earth, landing inside the bedroom with Alice and Quentin.